Welcome back, my fellow watchers of the multiverse, to another What If episode. And today's episode, we're kicking off the Halloween spirit, and it's officially that season where we're getting into the spooky stories, and why not bring in Freddy Krueger into the MCU? Imagine if Freddy Krueger had entered into Wanda's dreams after WandaVision. A crucial part in the MCU after WandaVision is definitely her becoming the Scarlet Witch. So imagine if Freddy Krueger had entered into this point in time right a little bit before Multiverse of Madness. Now this would be a very interesting concept, and it was a Halloween special that I really just can't wait to get into. So again, it's that time of the year. We're finally kicking it off. We're going to be doing Halloween episodes, and once we get to the holiday season later in the year, we're going to be doing tons of holiday episodes. So now is your time to let me know in the comments down below, what would you like to see? What is next on the list? But that being said, let's dive into the brand new episode. In the aftermath of Westview, after the events of WandaVision, Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, had chosen seclusion. Nestled in the mountains, she sought peace but found only isolation. Her mind was cluttered with memories of the past, Vision, her children, the world she had created and lost. At night, those memories crept into her dreams, sometimes as gentle whispers, sometimes as shadows she couldn't escape. But lately, those shadows had grown darker. What had once been mere echoes of regret had become something more sinister, and Wanda sensed an unnatural presence lurking in her mind. The nightmares began subtly. At first, they were twisted reflections of her past. Westview crumbling, the people's cold stares of betrayal, Vision disintegrating in her arms. But soon, the dreams morphed into something worse. The serene landscapes of her memories melted into grotesque scenes of torment. Her children screamed out for help, only to vanish before her eyes. A figure she didn't recognize, shrouded in fire-scorched skin and wearing a striped sweater, stood in the shadows, always watching, always laughing. This was no ordinary nightmare. Freddy Krueger had found her, locked in the silence of her remote mountain retreat. Wanda Maximoff had become a beacon, though she did not yet realize it. After Westview, her grief, her guilt, and the immense power of her chaos magic were like a pulsating signal, one that stretched far beyond the bounds of reality. And in the deepest, darkest reaches of the dream dimension, Freddy Krueger took notice. Freddy had once been a mortal man, a child murderer who had terrorized Springwood, only to be burned alive by the vengeful parents of his victims. But death had not been the end for Freddy. His soul had been claimed by dark forces, allowing him to live on as a dream demon, haunting the nightmares of those he once preyed upon. Over the years, Freddy had fed on the fear of countless victims, growing stronger with each kill, his presence becoming a permanent fixture in the dream dimension, a realm of nightmares ruled by fear. However, when he sensed a disturbance, a powerful ripple in the dream world emanating from a singular source, his interest was piqued. This was no ordinary fear. It was something much greater, something potent enough to break the boundaries of the dream dimension itself. The ripple had come from Wanda Maximoff. Freddy's gaze turned toward her with malevolent glee. Unlike any victim he had encountered before, Wanda was a being of immense power, her mind saturated with both extraordinary magic and a deep well of emotional trauma. The tragedy of losing Vision, the agony of losing her children, the guilt of enslaving an entire town. These wounds were raw, ripe for exploitation. Freddy, always the opportunist, saw a chance to do more than haunt dreams. Wanda's chaos magic was the key to breaking free from the dream dimension once and for all. Freddy's power came from fear, and Wanda was ripe for manipulation. The chaos magic that simmered within her was a beacon to him, a source of immense energy that he could twist to his own ends. He had haunted countless minds before, but none like this. Wanda's mind was a maze of trauma, magic, and limitless potential. Freddy planned to feed on her nightmares until he grew strong enough to escape the dream dimension and cross into the real world. But for now, he was content to play his cruel games, pushing Wanda further toward the brink. With each passing night, the nightmares intensified. The boundary between dream and reality became more fragile, and Wanda found herself losing control. During the day, she noticed subtle distortions. Objects flickering, shadows, stretching unnaturally, whispers in the corners of her vision. But at night, her world became an endless horror. Freddy's cackling voice echoed through her mind, and with each scream he elicited from her, his power grew. He tormented her with visions of her family disintegrating in front of her, of Westview rising up in flames, of herself losing control and destroying everything she loved once more. The nightmarish manipulations soon began to bleed into the waking world. Wanda's magic, which she had worked so hard to tame, lashed out unpredictably. Small, subtle shifts in reality began to occur around her, objects warping and twisting without her command. She realized that something was terribly wrong, but she couldn't pinpoint what. Her once peaceful retreat had become a place where the lines between dream and reality blurred dangerously. It was then that Doctor Strange sensed the disturbance. In the sanctum of his own dimension, Strange had felt the tremors in the magical fabric of reality. Wanda's chaotic magic was like a pulse, growing stronger and more unstable. Fearing that her trauma was once again spiraling out of control, he sought her out. Arriving at her mountain refuge, Strange found Wanda exhausted, on the edge of a mental collapse. She explained the nightmares, the horrific visions that gripped her each night. Strange, ever the mystic, probed deeper into her mind, searching for the source of the disturbance. What he discovered was not just a manifestation of Wanda's grief. It was something far more sinister, a dream invader with the power to manipulate fear. This was beyond Wanda's trauma. Something was feeding off her fears. But who could harness such power within dreams? Strange delved further into his arcane knowledge and recognized the telltale signs of an ancient evil that lurked within the dream dimension. Freddy Krueger was not of their world, a rogue entity that had slipped into the dream dimension after years of wreaking havoc in a different realm. Freddy thrived on fear, and now he had latched onto Wanda's immense magical power. His plan was simple: weaken her enough to create a tear between the dream world and reality, then escape and spread his terror unbound. Strange, though powerful, knew the dream dimension was unfamiliar territory, and he couldn't confront Freddy alone. That was when a new presence made itself known: Sleepwalker, a guardian of the dream dimension who patrolled the mindscape to protect minds from invasive threats like Freddy. Sleepwalker had long been aware of Freddy's existence, but until now Freddy's power had been limited to individual minds. Wanda's chaos magic, however, changed everything. Freddy had found a potential gateway into the real world, and Sleepwalker knew he had to intervene. Together, Strange and Sleepwalker sought to fortify Wanda's mind, to help her resist Freddy's manipulations. But even their combined efforts could not stop the nightmare entity's growing strength. Freddy's influence had taken root too deeply. His control over Wanda's dreams grew stronger with each passing night, warping her mind further. Freddy relished in the chaos, feeding off Wanda's darkest fears, showing her twisted versions of the family she had lost and the people she had hurt. He conjured images of Westview burning, of the Avengers turning on her, blaming her for every tragedy they had suffered, and Wanda, still burdened by guilt, found herself spiraling into despair. Sleepwalker knew there was only one way to stop Freddy. They had to confront him within the dream dimension, where his power was strongest. But in this realm, Freddy would not be an easy foe. The dream dimension was his playground, a place where he could twist reality with the snap of his claws. Wanda, Strange, and Sleepwalker ventured into this surreal landscape, each bracing themselves for the horrors that awaited. The dream dimension was a chaotic, ever-shifting place, where Freddy's influence had transformed the landscape into a grotesque nightmare. The sky twisted in unnatural colors, and the ground beneath their feet rippled like water. Everywhere they turned, Freddy's mocking laughter echoed. He conjured nightmarish versions of Vision and Wanda's children, taunting her with their suffering, feeding on her anguish. The dream dimension twisted and morphed under Freddy's influence, transforming into a place of horror where reality blurred with nightmares. For Wanda, it was a living nightmare filled with distorted images of Vision and her children, their faces twisted in pain as they called out for her. The ground beneath her feet rippled like water, and the sky swirled in unnatural colors, constantly shifting and reflecting her inner turmoil. Freddy fed on her fear, making the visions more vivid, driving her deeper into despair with each passing moment, reveling in the chaos her mind created. Freddy didn't stop with Wanda. He turned his power on Dr. Strange, warping the dream dimension to reflect Strange's greatest fears. Strange found himself in a version of his world where everything had fallen apart. Camartage in ruins, the multiverse collapsing, and his own magic useless. Freddy conjured visions of Strange's past failures and insecurities, forcing him to confront the things he feared most, the idea that his actions had caused harm, and that he had failed as a protector. Both Wanda and Strange were trapped in their nightmares, with Freddy feeding off their fear, growing stronger with each moment as they struggled to find a way out. But Freddy wasn't finished yet. He took his manipulation a step further, presenting Strange with a final, cruel illusion. In this nightmare, Christine Palmer stood before him, but instead of warmth, her eyes were cold, filled with the resentment of a life destroyed by Strange's choices. She turned away from him, walking into the darkness, leaving Strange alone in the desolation. Trapped in the nightmare, Strange felt the weight of his failures bearing down on him, but deep within, he knew this wasn't real. It was Freddy's creation, designed to tear him down. As the nightmare intensified, Strange reached for the truth, calling upon his training to break free of the illusion. As the battle unfolded, Freddy's power continued to grow. Wanda, now fully engulfed in fear, found herself on the verge of losing control entirely. Her chaos magic flared unpredictably, threatening to tear apart the fabric of the dream dimension itself. Freddy reveled in her pain, sensing that his victory was near. But just as Freddy prepared to make his final move, Nightmare, the ruler of the dream dimension, made his presence known. Nightmare, ruler of the dream dimension, thrived on the fears of all living beings. His twisted form, draped in darkness, reflected the chaotic nightmares he commanded, always lurking in the shadows of the mind. For centuries, he had controlled the dreams of mortals, manipulating their deepest fears to fuel his power. Now, sensing the instability caused by Freddy's invasion, Nightmare prepared to seize Wanda's chaos magic, aiming to extend his dominion beyond the dream realm and into reality itself. For Nightmare, Freddy had been a useful pawn, a means to destabilize the dream dimension and weaken its boundaries. But now that Freddy had grown too powerful, Nightmare sought to claim Wanda's magic for himself. A battle between Freddy and Nightmare erupted, their dark energies clashing violently, causing the dream realm to tremble. The fight between Freddy and Nightmare was a chaotic clash, tearing apart the dream dimension around them. Freddy, feeding off fear, sent waves of dark, twisted nightmares at Nightmare, slashing through the dream world with his claws. But Nightmare, the master of this realm, wasn't easy to overpower. He warped the landscape around them, reshaping Freddy's nightmares and turning them back against him. Each attack from Freddy was met with Nightmare's control over the dreamscape, bending the world to his will. The two fought fiercely, their powers colliding and creating cracks in the dream world, neither willing to back down as they battled for control. But while the villains battled for control, Wanda, with Sleepwalker's guidance, began to realize that the key to defeating Freddy wasn't in brute force, but in confronting her own fears. Freddy's power thrived on the terror he invoked, but if Wanda could face her trauma and accept her past, she could rob him of his power. With renewed determination, Wanda faced the nightmarish visions Freddy had created. The images of Vision and her children, the destruction of Westview. But instead of succumbing to the fear, she embraced her memories, accepting the pain and loss without letting it consume her. As Wanda's fear faded, so did Freddy's power. His once commanding presence began to weaken, his grip on the dream dimension loosening. Freddy, now desperate, tried to strike at Wanda one last time, but she was no longer afraid. With a surge of chaos magic, she trapped Freddy in an endless loop of his own worst nightmare. Being forgotten, powerless, and alone. Freddy's screams echoed as he was swallowed by the very darkness he had sought to create. With Freddy neutralized, Strange and Sleepwalker turned their attention to Nightmare. Though still powerful, Nightmare had been weakened by Freddy's betrayal. With Freddy neutralized, Strange and Sleepwalker prepared for their final confrontation with Nightmare. Though Nightmare was still powerful, Freddy's betrayal had weakened him, leaving cracks in his control over the dream dimension. Dr. Strange, ever resourceful, drew upon the Eye of Agamotto, which allowed him to see through the illusions and distortions Nightmare cast in the dreamscape, giving him an advantage in the battle. He also called upon the winds of Watum, ancient magical currents that could disrupt Nightmare's grip on the dream realm, giving the heroes a brief edge in the chaotic environment. Sleepwalker, a protector of the dream dimension, used his innate connection to the realm itself as his weapon. His Imaginator, a psychic tool unique to his kind, allowed him to reshape portions of the dreamscape, countering Nightmare's control over it. By redirecting the flow of fear and twisting Nightmare's own creations, Sleepwalker weakened the villain's influence. Working in unison, Strange and Sleepwalker forced Nightmare back into the deepest recesses of his domain, combining their powers to seal the rifts and restore balance between dreams and reality. Together, they ensured that Nightmare could not return to threaten the waking world, locking him away in the shifting shadows of the dream dimension. Exhausted but victorious, Wanda returned to the waking world, having faced her darkest fears and come out stronger. Sleepwalker, his duty fulfilled, returned to the dream dimension, vowing to protect it from any future threats. Doctor Strange remained by Wanda's side, ensuring that she would not face these battles alone. Though the nightmare was over, Wanda knew that the darkness within her would always be there, but she had learned to control it. For now, at least, the dreams had been silenced. But in the shadows of the dream dimension, the echoes of Freddy's laughter lingered, waiting for another opportunity to strike. And that is going to be it for What If Freddy Krueger had entered Wanda Maximoff's dreams in the MCU. Now, it definitely would have been an interesting crossover to see Freddy Krueger brought into the MCU. Now, what did you think of this video? If you guys do enjoy these holiday specials and Halloween specials, let me know what is next on the list. There is just so much that we could do that there's almost too many to do, but we're getting into the Halloween season with pumpkins, trick-or-treating, everything in between with horror. It's absolutely insane, and I will be doing so much more, so you can see videos almost every day for the next 2 or 3 months. So I'm just very excited to finally get these out, and thank you so much, my fellow watchers of the multiverse, for always supporting me on this channel. It really means a lot. And I do want to say, if you guys want to support even further, I would highly recommend that you check out the Fourth Wall merch page, where there's so many different hoodies, there's different t-shirts designs, posters, etc. There's just so much for everybody, and I'm sure that you could even get some of these designs exclusively on the merch shop. So again, take a look at that. Let me know what you would like to see next. That being said, have a fantastic day as always. Peace out.